Hey everybody, it's Taylor Hughes coming to you live from the broom closet in my home with episode 42 of the About to Break podcast. I can't believe we're at 42 episodes already. And I just got to say thank you to everyone who's listening to the show and everyone who's been dropping little notes and direct messages and things like that on Facebook and Instagram. I really cannot thank you enough for letting me know that you appreciate the show, that you're enjoying it. You know, these conversations came about because I was at a time where I was kind of discouraged and I was getting solidarity and encouragement from talking with other performers and hearing from their experience and their advice and their wisdom. And so I'm so glad to hear that it's being that for so many other people, that you guys are enjoying the show. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening and liking on iTunes and sharing with your friends. That's how we get the word out about these great, amazing people that I'm just grateful to sit down and have a conversation with. This episode is going to be a good one, but before we get into it, a couple things I want to let you know about. If you're listening to this the day it comes out on Wednesday, September 27th, that means tonight I will be in Los Angeles at Scott Neary's Booby Trap. This show is crazy, guys. If you've never been to Booby Trap, I highly encourage you to come to it. In fact, if you are available tonight and want to come down, I've got a guest list. I will put you on my guest list. Just send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram or heck, email me. My email is taylor@taylorhughes.com. That's right, taylor@taylorhughes.com. And just send me an email. Tell me you want to go to the show, and I will put you on my guest list. I'd love to see you there tonight at Scott Neary's Booby Trap. We're also just a couple weeks away, actually about a week and a half away, from our next Jokers and Aces show, which has quickly become my favorite show all month, the thing I looked forward to the most. Just a great opportunity to hang out with friends and see some killer comedians and magicians, and that is happening on October 8th at the Nerdist Showroom at Meltdown Comics, right there off of Sunset in LA. So I hope to see you guys at one of those shows. If you do come out, come say hi. And also big thank you to the producers. I cannot thank you enough. Those of you who are going on Patreon and are donating. So folks are donating $1 a month, $5 a month. Some folks are giving $10 a month or more. And that is how we're able to put this show out for free, is because we've got folks who just say, hey, you know what? I can kick in $12 a year, or I can kick in $5 a month, whatever it is for you. If you could just give a little bit to the program, we are so grateful. We're so thankful. And another way you can support the show is by shopping through our Amazon profile link. Just go to abouttobreakpodcast.com, click on those links. And thank you so much for supporting the show. Let's get into it. Episode 42 starts now.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
This is a good one, guys. Whether you're an entertainer, an entrepreneur, just someone trying to make ends meet, there's so much good stuff in this conversation with Michael Rayner. Stuff about just how to keep going, tips and tricks. You know, I've always said this is not a how-to podcast on how to make it in the business. This is more of a survival guide, just solidarity for the journey. But there are some really good things that Michael shares in this. Michael Rayner is a postmodern vaudevillian. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. You're going to see him do things in a show that you've never seen before. You're going to see him balance a wheelbarrow on his face. You're going to see him balance people's shoes on his face. You're going to see him juggle tennis rackets in the weirdest way you've ever imagined. And you're going to have a killer time the entire time. Michael Rayner's an incredible professional. A lot of his work has been doing warm-up for TV shows. So when he's not performing his act, he's actually helping warm up the crowd so that you get those responses that you're wanting on the TV show. He's such a great dude. I'm going to stop talking, sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 42 of the About to Break podcast featuring Mr. Michael Rayner. This week, I am joined by the incredibly talented vaudevillian of the modern age, Mr. Michael Rayner.
Yes, that is I. I like to refer to myself as the Postmodern Vaudevillian. That's actually on some business cards. Postmodern Vaudevillian.
I love it.
And that is what it is. You know, I don't know. Do we need to? It's exciting to actually have somebody that does a physical act on a podcast where you can't actually see it.
Yeah, I thought, you know what would be the best medium for all of my friends who are incredibly visually talented is to have no visuals whatsoever.
But as I say to most people, the tricks are irrelevant. It's what you do in between the tricks, which are the interesting thing that however you relate to your audience.
Yes.
You know, the people think, oh, I just went to the magic shop and I bought a trick and now people see that trick. I don't know if you went to the magic shop and bought the trick, 1,000 other magicians have just bought that trick.
Yes.
It's what you say in between the trick.
Come on.
What's so important. And do you know my pal Buster Balloon?
Yeah.
He's a pal of mine, and he said, if a hot trick comes out, buy it, put it in the closet, and bring it out 5 years from now.
Ah, that's good.
So, because he says, listen, there's so many tricks that you just see over and over again. Then.
Right. Well,
So-
I mean, right there, I have my Tarbell Course in Magic, which is, it's like the epitome of, the old every trick in the book kind of thing.
Is that the books? Is it the book? I didn't see exactly.
Yeah, on the bottom shelf there. So it's like a series of books.
I saw that at Iliad Bookshop.
Oh, did you really?
It was like $200 for all of them,
yeah.
or $250 or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, it's crazy because the books were written in like the 20s and 30s, and I've put things into the show over the years that kind of spun off an idea from that. And it's so funny, guys will come and go, when did you come up with that? And I'm like, it's 100 years old.
Right. Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's like everything's a variation. I think, was it Penn and Teller that said you're either producing, destroying, reading a mind, or there was like eight things or 4 things, and that's all every trick is.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, and then I'm to let people know I do weird juggling tricks, but I balance things on my nose or chin. Here's the thing. One of the new tricks that I've done for the last 3 months or 3 years is balancing audience shoes on my nose. Yes. I'd never seen anybody do that.
No.
People balance a lot of stuff, but it's the interaction with the audience, getting their shoe. It's if you know how to balance anything, like if you're a halfway decent juggler and can balance stuff on your nose, you can do this trick too. It's the interaction with your audience.
So that was the first thing I ever saw you do. It was at the Magic Castle a few years back. And which, first of all, it's a big accomplishment for a magician to perform the castle, but you're coming in as a variety act, which, number one, is needed in that showroom. But number two, it's like a breath of fresh air because you've seen all these card tricks and magic, and then you come out, and the first thing you did was, I'm going to balance shoes on my face for 7 seconds, and if I can, I'm going to give you
$5.
$5. And immediately everyone's like, whoa, let's see this happen.
I know. They hold up their shoes, and then I commence to making fun of people's shoes.
It's fantastic.
And on occasion I do lose, and I do pay out. One time I lost, and this girl's boyfriend, it was a very pointy lady shoe, and he yells out, this is Magic Castle, yells out double or nothing, and so I said, absolutely, and I made a big deal, and then I won, so she got nothing that time.
Oh, that's great.
But when Neil Patrick Harris was the president of the Magic Castle, I
Yep.
actually balanced his shoe on my nose. Sadly, I do not have that.
You don't have the video?
Yeah, because it's at the Magic Castle. You're not, unless you asked for video.
You did a commercial with him, didn't you?
In fact, I've done a ton of stuff with Neil, like, way back in the day, he had a show called Stark Raving Mad with Tony Shalhoub, where he was like a book publisher or something like that, or an agent, something like that. And Tony Shalhoub was a eccentric author, I think it was.
Yep.
But very fastidious. And Neil Patrick Harris I was the warm up on that show. I think they rotated us, and I think I did probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Ed Alonzo was once in the audience with his very, very young daughter who helped out with some juggling tricks that day. Then that was the first time. Second time with Neil, I did an Old Spice deodorant commercial where it was a green screen thing where they take my arm and put it on my leg and my leg on my arm. And he said, and his line is, I'm a doctor for pretends.
Oh, that's
And then you
funny.
can see that I'm struggling because he put on my leg on my arm and my arm on my leg. The weirdest part about that was they have to lay you down, raise you up, and have my hand, like pretending it's being a leg, But the device they put you on is counterbalanced, and they say, whatever you do, don't get off because you'll kill yourself because the weight will smack you and hurt you. So,
gee whiz, that's not
scary.
That's not some motivation to not screw up a shot.
Yeah. And then I did just recently for his Best Night Ever TV show, or Best Day Ever. I was in the opening and closing, or the opening credits, doing both balancing and the beginning of the opening credits and spinning a donut on an umbrella at the very end.
That's
so
fantastic.
So Neil, I mean, I wouldn't say we're friends, but he knows who I am and he knows my name and I know him and we'll chat. You know what I mean?
This is one of the things that I've only recently discovered. I mean, you always hear it's a small world in entertainment, but the more you go to different shows and jump on different shows, you just see people everywhere that you've run into or that you know. It really is kind of a tight-knit community, I would say.
Well, because we come, like, we're part of the vaudeville magic novelty.
Right.
We're lumped into, like, there's, like, the magicians, jugglers, ventriloquists, puppeteer world.
Right.
Then there's sort of the comedian world. Then there's a Venn diagram where sometimes we're both doing the same shows. I mean, I know a lot of the vaudeville guys and the magicians because I know a ton of the Magic Castle people, you know. Steve Valentine, do you know Steve Valentine?
I don't know him personally, but I'm very aware of
very
stuff.
First TV commercial I ever did was with Steve, and then at almost the same time, my good friend Woody Pittman, who is now passed for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
I met them kind of at the same time. They kind of slowly got me into the Magic Castle, just seeing it, and then pitching me eventually. And then I was did a bunch of shows. Yeah. Then for like 6 or 7 years when Max Maven took over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He just wasn't familiar with me, so then I was in the dark.
I had the same scenario happen, yeah.
And then as soon as Jack came back, or Jack took over, then Erica said, hey, get Michael in. And now it's like, I think I'll be in the Palace in like 3 weeks, October 16th to the 22nd. And then before that, in the summer, I was in the Peller with Eric Buss.
Oh,
so
such a great dude.
So it's this wheels within wheels.
Yeah.
20-some years ago, meeting Steve Valentine, Woody Pittman, that kind of got me in. And then through Woody, I met Rob Zabrecki. But then Rob Zabrecki kind of raised his ranks into the Magic Castle, and that helped me do stuff at like Brookledge. Yeah. Then with like John Armstrong I knew John Armstrong when he was 16 at Universal in Florida when I was working my show at Universal. Yeah. So I'm doing John Armstrong like 30 plus years or something.
And he was doing like strolling in the park?
He was just a regular employee. I don't even think he was doing magic back when I knew him in Orlando.
Wow. Yeah, John's incredible.
So it's all these wheels within wheels within wheels of being in LA and knowing people for so long.
What came first for you? Was it live performance or acting?
Oh, live performance, 100%. Well, I mean, in high school, I was super shy until I did the school musical, Guys and Dolls. I was Big Julie. Then we went on a trip. Most people, there's aha moments, and I'll give you aha moments today.
Please.
We're going to break some truth on this today.
Yes, it's happening.
I went on the senior trip to New York City, and there was a show called Sugar Babies with Ann Miller and Mickey Rooney, and the juggler in that was Michael Davis.
And did you didn't grow up in California?
No, Michigan. This is Michigan, small town in Michigan. I saw Michael Davis concurrently at the same time, like from 15 to 18. Huge Steve Martin fan. Oh. Just huge. Oh, yeah. And he incorporated everything in an absurdist way with like novelty plus, weird stuff, and then plus stand up in a weird way. Oh, yeah. And he talks about, being on Carson 15 times and no one caring until like, the 16th time.
It's crazy.
Finally getting some accolades.
Oh, yeah.
But so, I started practicing when I was 18. Nothing. It was like zero, practice 2 years, and then start doing shows, and that was pretty much how it went down.
And did you start juggling right away? That was your first kind of step into
just regular 3-ball juggling. This is back in the day where there was no YouTube. You went to a library and had to look at images.
The joy of juggling.
It was I went even old school. Some like weird vaudeville guy that I cannot even remember his name. I think it was Dumont.
Okay.
It was like one of these tattered books that was printed like 1930s, maybe reprinted from a 1930s book.
Yeah.
And just kind of read that. And you have to look at images. People forget that magicians and everybody, before YouTube, before DVDs, before VHS, you're looking at picture to picture to picture to try to figure out how to do stuff, which is a billion times harder than watching a video.
Oh, yeah. Which is also why they say the way to keep something a secret is to print it, because people don't, they're not going to read a book.
That's funny. That's a good one. I didn't hear that one. Yeah, so I just started practicing weird little tricks, and then 2 years after practicing, I was at a country fair, and they said, does anybody have any talent? We're having a talent show. It wasn't like you even had to sign up before. They just announced it to the crowd. So I went out to my car, got some stuff, did 5 minutes, made $25, saw the very first iteration of Blade Runner.
Wow.
And that's what I spent the money on, and that started the path. Went to U of M Flint, went to school, and also was like the vacuum guy, the maintenance, the janitor guy at the same time. And they were building an amusement park across the street at the exact same time in Flint called Auto World. It's long been defunct, but and that's where I started. And then and that's all I've done since. Let me think, 1983. I think it's 83.
Okay.
So it's only shows. I mean, and with that, commercials, writing, acting.
Now,
whatever.
did you know a juggler, or what? Because you said you're a fan of Steve Martin and the comedy thing, but what drew you to juggling?
I like Michael Davis and Steve Martin, and maybe a little bit of W.C. Fields as a retro, but more so his personality. Then you find out later that he had a whole silent. Yeah. Like, I like the personality of that, but then I found out later that he was this phenomenal juggler that made tons of money. Right. So that, I didn't know anybody. No, I lived in the middle of nowhere with nobody, doing nothing, in a small town with a blinking light. Completely one of those very white towns where you don't have any diversity. Very backwards-ish. Okay. That this is just not something people do, but it's like, whatever.
So a lot of pressure to kind of like get a real job, or
not from my family, maybe from others. Especially like it's an irony. It's an irony that the church people that I grew up with and the church that I was at, they were far more concerned than my parents. My father didn't go to church. He didn't. That wasn't his thing. But my mother did. But she wasn't. She liked my endeavors. But everybody else was like, "What are you going to do to fall back on?" Oh yeah. And it's like, well. If this is my calling, if we feel we are the as Adam Smith says, like the secret hand of the secret hand, I think that's what he says.
I think so.
It's something like that. That you have a calling, that this is something that you are meant to do. Yeah. Why are we now in these church environments not encouraging that?
Right. Oh, totally.
As opposed to saying you got to fit into these other things, even though you seem to excel at this other thing.
Right.
And so
it's this attitude of, we've got these 5 or 6 or 7 different boxes. You got to pick one to jump in.
Right. And I can even understand that if as people that are maybe not a person of faith, that I don't have some kind of other calling, some other force propelling me. Yeah. As opposed to, especially in these church environments where there's so crushing of dreams, sadly. Yeah. Church dream crushers.
Man. I could talk all day about it. So I spent years and years in the church, and for several years was involved in youth ministry and things like that. But and walked out of it because I was in a very unhealthy environment.
It seems like every youth minister I meet talk about being crushed like that in some ways. I don't know if it's I don't know what to make of that.
Well, it's it's interesting too, because within the church there's certain talents that are valuable to the church, whether it's public speaking or music, and so those things tend to get a little attention put on it if you're able to do those. But I could see how if it wasn't beneficial to the purpose of the place.
Well, and it's also that the weird thing. a lot of people are just very conservative in the Midwest. I mean, it's very conservative. I remember
show business is the devil.
I know. And it's like, I remember there was some study that once people could download and download music for free.
Yeah.
They did a study that Christian kids were slightly higher
Yeah.
to steal music than
yeah.
non-Christian kids, which I always thought was a very funny statistic. But here's the one thing I remember when I was doing shows, and I was still living at home, but I was still doing quite a few shows.
Yeah.
One of the kids of one of the people that just said, you should not endeavor in show business. He was doing Amway, which is so multi-layer, like in a small town.
It does have a little bit of a church feel to it.
Amway has very much in a small town. You only need one Amway dealer, and if there's 5 of you there,
oh yeah.
And he said to me, "What are you going to do, Michael? What are you going to do if both your arms are amputated? How are you going to juggle? Well, one, how am I going to sell Amway?
Right.
I mean, how am I going to carry my soaps and my unctions door to door to satisfy? If I lose both my arms, I'm going to figure out something else. I will not be a door-to-door Amway salesman."
See, okay, and there's this attitude that somehow other industries are bulletproof. I mean, this podcast wouldn't exist if the entertainment business was smooth sailing all the time. The whole point is ups and downs.
Right.
But I'm always amazed when we encourage kids to avoid the arts because it's not steady. But then, how many bankers are out of work
Here's
now?
the thing. It's a false promise that arts aren't steady. They are steady. You're always unemployed. And so you always know you're getting another job.
Yes.
It's like me and my daughter have this thing that I love doing where she pretends she's the, I make her pretend where she's the office manager, and I come in for my interview, and they go, "How long were you at your last job?" And I'm like, 45 minutes. And said, it's like, and then it's like, well, how long were you at your last job? 45 minutes. And then it's like, how long were you at your last job before that? Well, that was just a guess set. So 15 minutes. Yeah. And then it's like, well, how many jobs have you had this year?
Right.
250 jobs,
right.
Yeah. And so, like this summer, I did 120 shows in 90 days,
Ooh.
And not big money show.
You were doing like a library circuit?
And I'll tell everybody here, it's $325 a pop. But I'll do 2 or 3 a day sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes 1, but I love it when it's at least 2, maybe 3. You get up in your own bed, sleep in your own bed, and you've made $1,000, which is great.
Huge.
Yeah.
And
so that's the thing. We're always unemployed. So the fear of unemployment doesn't reside with us.
Yeah.
Where it does when somebody that's been somewhere for, say, 15 years, 20 years, or whatever. And then that industry, for example, bookstores.
Right.
Because of internet, there's so few bookstores, small little mom and pop bookstores, if they're nimble, they can figure out the Iliad in North Hollywood still is surviving and doing quite well because they figured out we'll have massive content, use bookstore, we'll have an internet presence. So they figured out how to keep rolling when other people don't. Toys R Us, for instance, they're just filing for chapter 11 or chapter 13. I can't remember which.
Wow.
You have to always know that you're unemployed, and you got to figure out how to keep it going. In fact, I was listening to somebody talking about, I don't know if it was somebody about all the computers that are taking over jobs and all the AI that's taking over jobs. They said the people that will survive this are dancers, acrobats, entertainers, because you can't yet train an AI or a robot to do sleight of hand or juggling.
That's true.
So,
and I've even thought too, as we get more and more involved in social media, which can be a great thing, but it's the illusion of personal contact. We're not actually talking to people; we just feel like we are.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I feel like people who are able to present publicly, it's already been the number one fear of most people. But now we're doing it less and less. I feel like that's going to be a role that's necessary.
Well, here's the biggest thing about that is a lot of these YouTube stars don't even know how to present themselves in a comedy club situation, and they've been tagging on like 4 or 5 actual comics.
Yeah.
And then YouTube star comes on and sort of does a meet and greet, sort of a whatever for 15 minutes, but that's the draw, which is weird.
It's so weird.
I mean, I want to talk about my oldest daughter. She's not interested in social media at all. She doesn't have a Facebook. She doesn't have an Instagram.
Yeah.
She only has a Pinterest, but that to me is curating interesting articles and things you like. That's more of librarian.
It's in the creative realm as well.
And she just likes to curate all the things she's interested in into bulletin boards and, and have articles come to her, which is, it's a weird, library science type thing that she's doing with it. I think I have way more social media than my child.
This is your oldest?
Yes, my 16-year-old.
My oldest is 12, and we just helped her redo her bedroom this week. She was redecorating it. We pulled up the carpet and did the floor and stuff. But it was interesting because I said, you know what? We're looking around and moving things, and I said, you don't have a mirror in your room. Do you need a mirror? And she paused for a second, and she went, I don't want a mirror yet. And I
wow,
thought, that's very rare, I think.
That's
but
real. That's funny.
Like she actually thought about what that would mean, and I think she doesn't want to grow up. She's still at that moment where she's like, I want to enjoy being a kid.
Well, I think my 16-year-old doesn't want to grow up, or my 12-year-old I think does want to grow up. And they're now the same exact height, and the 12-year-old's a little bit bigger than my 16-year-old, so they're always getting, are you guys twins? And it infuriates the older one. It infuriates her.
I was thinking this week about the fact that, because my kids have now watched Full House and like some of the shows that we were into when we were a little bit younger, and I think it's interesting that, we kind of grew up with these characters over 7, 8, 9 seasons. So as you watch the plot line of the shows, the show gets more mature as the audience that started with the show grows with it.
Right.
But now kids
binge it.
They can binge it. So they've literally in 6 months watched every episode of it, and I'm just like, I wonder what that's going to be like for kids growing up and just developing so quickly because of I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the weird thing is, I never really watched Full House that much. And that was just not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But my kids have.
Yeah.
And then weirdly enough, I worked with both Bob Saget on a sitcom warming that up and the Olsen twins on a sitcom warming that up, which is weird. And then I don't think I ever worked with Dave Coulier, but I did.
Yeah.
Just at this show I do called Booby Trap, get my photo taken with John Stamos.
So, that's awesome. Was he was just there?
Yeah, he was just hanging out with this kid, Josh Peck, who was on either a Disney show or a Nickelodeon show. He was on Drake and Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he was on. And so I got my photo with them.
That show's so great. I saw you 3 weeks ago. I saw you hop in a Booby Trap maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it was.
Were you there?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see you. Did you say hi?
It was the first time. I didn't see you afterward. I don't know if you were able to stick around.
Yeah, I hung out a bit. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first time. I'm doing it this Wednesday for the first time, but I had never seen it, and I was like, this is an incredible show.
Yeah. I've been there, and I did it at the warehouse when it was at the warehouse, Philip Solomon's warehouse.
Was that back in like Echo Park or somewhere over that way?
And that one we could do anything. So then I for 2 episodes of that venue we could do fire.
Okay.
And I doused the cheeseburger with lighter fluid and spun a flaming cheeseburger.
Now, had you done that before, or was that just an idea that
I had done it in my backyard? No, I'm good on coffee. I'm getting offered more coffee. I'm good.
You had done it in your backyard before?
I'd done it in my backyard.
You knew the parasol was flame retardant.
No, it's not always. This one actually, as you spin it, little patches of fire start to flame up on it. And then as the cheeseburger goes around, it's jumping over the holes that it makes.
If you guys have not seen Michael Rayner do his cheeseburger trick, it is one of the most entertaining pieces I have ever seen in my life. And I've seen you do it a dozen times now. And it's friggin' amazing.
It's weird because even on the way I have shows tonight, but I couldn't find a Burger King. My new burger of choice over the last 2 years is Burger King.
Yeah,
because the bread flies off better. But for many years it was McDonald's. So on America's Got Talent and Letterman, it was McDonald's, but then I think on James Corden when I did it was Burger King.
Oh my gosh. I was getting ready for our time together and was watching all of your YouTube stuff, and I just saw edited version of America's Got Talent where Heidi Klum threw the cheeseburger at Howie or at Howard?
Oh, yeah. And but it's weird if you. I just put it on my Facebook today. Not even on my. Not even on my. Not on my website.
Yeah.
I re-edited it. This is what happened on the actual show.
Yeah.
Heidi just starts throwing the cheeseburger at Simon because she wasn't following my instructions on how to throw it onto the umbrella.
Yeah.
And then Simon just got upset, and then she starts throwing the cheeseburger at him, and then the audience goes crazy.
What? You had a couple extra cheeseburgers? Or?
Oh yeah, I had a whole bunch. They always make you come prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I did Letterman, they made me bring cheeseburgers from LA to New York.
What?
Because they were worried that New York cheeseburgers might not spin as they do in LA.
No way.
No, absolutely. So on a red eye on Boxing Day, like in, I don't know if it was 1995 or 1996, I had cheeseburgers with me on a red eye. So
how many did you eat on the plane?
0, because they're disgusting.
That's true.
But then the audience cheers.
Yeah.
But that's all you see in the American version.
Yeah.
I did deep Googling lately because I'm redoing some demos, and I found this longer version where it's actually Heidi throws the burger, I catch it, I spin it, I cheer for her, she goes, you did it, and everything's great. In the real show, what you don't see is then Mel B gives me an X because she goes, I think I can do that, and was very cavalier about that. It's like saying, I could play guitar. I think I could play guitar, which is dumb.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have already had like 15 minutes of stage time and done a lot of stuff and got my only accomplishment, I wanted to have a picture of me and Heidi together as just part of the press kit.
Right.
I'd done that, so I'm ready to bolt. If anything else, I might try to get Mel B on stage or whatever, but I don't care. But then I just, this last couple days, I re-edited it. So when they're cheering when she's throwing the burger, I just put that at the end of the bit. So it looks like the audience is cheering at the end of the bit. Because forever, shows edit how they want to edit, even if it's not true.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so now I can do what they've always been doing. I can just have some cheering at the end of the bit.
Right.
The great thing on the James Corden clip, it's straight through, and the audience is cheering at the end of the bit.
Into it.
And he's super into it. So I've got a couple nice pieces out of that.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up with America's Got Talent, because I've heard a lot of guys go, oh, that show, because of the editing or because you don't know how they're going to portray you. Guys just will refuse to do it. But you knew what you wanted to get out of it, made sure you got it. And
yeah, you have to have an agenda that will fit whatever happens. You can get something from that agenda. But I didn't seek America's Got Talent out. They asked me a million times to audition. I said no, because it was because they don't pay you at all. Whereas I did a show called 30 Seconds to Fame, and they give you like after scale, which like $1,000 or whatever it was. I'm like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And I'm getting my money. So on America's Got Talent, Barbara Holiday from Flappers Comedy Club just said, come to the Yoo-Hoo Room, do 3 minutes, whatever happens, happens. So I do my 3 minutes. They call. They say, come to one of the big open auditions. We'll get you in early and do all this stuff. I said, no. You want me on the show? I'm on the show. If you don't, you don't. I'm not doing anything else.
That's great.
And next thing you know, they make me come and I'm on the show. You know what I mean? Because I just refuse to do anything else.
Right.
And we'll do what we do. And a lot of amazing acts, get X'd. Some don't even make the show.
Right.
My good buddy James P. Connolly, who's super funny, great guy. Super talented comic, works a lot. He didn't even make the show, and he went out and did his thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you just get what you get. And so luckily and I was always very nice on set, and I helped them with a lot of interviews. I was there for 2 days being part of an interview with other acts. So me and other acts would talk, and they would get B-roll. Was very cooperative, did whatever they wanted. So they released this press release that said Michael Rayner gets Heidi Klum, and it said all this nice stuff about me getting her to help in the show. And then they linked it to a bunch of my TV commercials.
Oh, that's great.
And so I did get, I think maybe being nice, you get a little bit out of it. And so it all worked out in the end, even though I made 2 seconds of the American version.
But that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And when you started doing TV, was your first TV appearance doing your act or
bits and pieces. I mean, when I was in Orlando, I did a show called What Would You Do? It was a Nickelodeon show, and first bit I did for that, we constructed it where I rode a unicycle all around Universal Studios. That's where I was working at the time doing shows. Then the challenge was somebody in the audience, will you ride on his back around the studio? So I selected this kid that I knew, a little brother of a friend of mine who was super tiny and lightweight, so he could piggyback, and I could ride him around on the unicycle on my back.
Oh, that's cool.
That was a bit. Then I also, on that show, I balanced a vacuum on my chin once, but it wasn't part of my act. It was just bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think I did a thing on Nick Arcade, which I never even saw, where I did like a tennis racket bit for that. So it was all Orlando based. And as soon as I got to LA, tons of commercials before getting stuff from my show on TV, like James Corden or Letterman or America's Got Talent. Or I also did weird bits on Sesame Street that aired for like 20 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so a little bit of everything, I guess.
Now, we've talked about the uniqueness of your act, but I mean, like, you say I balance things on my face, but you balance like a wheelbarrow.
A wheelbarrow on the chin while doing like a tennis racket trick at the same time.
The tennis racket thing and the cheeseburger trick. Like, was your intention from the beginning, I'm going to be completely original, or was it just... what was the evolution of you doing the things that you do?
Well, a good example would be the cheeseburger trick. There's an old vaudeville clown bit where you have a ball, you have a string on it, you put on the parasol, attach it, you spin the ball, but then the clown shows you that it's still attached, and then you clip it, then you spin the ball. So I first learned how to spin a ball on an umbrella, but I didn't have anything for the show. I didn't know how that would transcend it. That was the trick, but there was nothing for the show. I mean, I know how to do plate spinning. I've never put it in the show. I don't really know how to put it in the show, you know. So then I got a cheeseburger from McDonald's one day, and I said, I think I can spin this. And I could, and then I started doing it in front of people, and then that evolves into bits, you know, from that point on. You know, so... The tennis racket trick is like actually a devil stick, or they see them at like Ren Fair's crystal sticks or flower sticks.
Yeah.
But I like a tennis racket because it has a relationship to the audience, something they know.
Right.
So it's not something peculiar or like, oh, is that a magic device? You know what I mean? And lately I've been enjoying getting tennis rackets that actually have like an old-timer tennis player. Like I say, I got the Jack Kramer in one hand, the Chris Everett in the other hand. And then lately I've been thinking about researching their careers and having little facts about their careers when I do the tennis racket.
That's awesome.
So everything is, you know, just figuring stuff out and relationship to the audience. You know, half the time I'm just talking to the audience about whatever's going on that day.
Yeah.
You know, especially today I had a luncheon show with teachers, so we just kind of, the very beginning with the shoe balancing was making fun of their very terrible shoes that were, obviously, they're in a teacher's salary because they were so awful.
Have you ever had a crowd that's just too uptight and won't offer up their shoes?
That is a great question because... I was like, it's a great question, Taylor. And I was like, but is his name Taylor? You ever have that moment where you're going to say, is his name Taylor? Because we've been talking. Then I'll look at people I know and I go, this seems like their name. And it's weird because the reason it's my favorite name is because it's in Planet of the Apes. Chuck Heston's character name's Taylor. So I always love that. Because he's always Taylor. I think James Francisco screams Taylor to him. Anyways, digression. Rich shows anytime, because I offer the audience money. Right. Because most shows, people are like, I want $5.
Yeah.
I could use the $5, or maybe I'll make it $10 if it's like it's a more like other shows. I'll sometimes raise it. You know.
Well, and even if people have money, generally they'll do anything for a free T-shirt. So I would think if you're giving out $10 bills,
super rich people are like, I got enough money.
Yeah.
I don't
My
need
shoes are $3,000.
And speaking of that, I was in the Nordstrom's and I saw a pair of like $1,500 tennis shoes that had spikes on them, and so I made my daughter.
You ever film your wife?
Yeah, well, I did it. And then all of a sudden the manager came over and got really excited and made me do a bunch more shoes. They gave me their card and said, maybe we should work on something where we do a bit here where you balance some of our shoes.
Oh, that's great.
So I got to follow up on that.
Those impromptu shows.
Yeah.
Have you performed for the TSA before in the check-in lane there?
I have not.
I've had to do that to explain what's in my bag. Because a lot of it looks sketchy.
Magic stuff.
Yeah, magic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed that they won't let you take shampoo on, but I bring like chains and padlocks and soup ladles and giant jars of jelly beans, and they don't care about that stuff.
The saddest thing when we were coming back from England, my wife packed stuff and she just forgot. Mm-hmm. She just forgot, and she packed like honey, some special honey, some port. They confiscated the honey, but they completely forgot to look and see the port and for the carry-on. So we had port, and we smuggled the port through. So yeah,
that's awesome.
But they got a really nice jar of like some kind of special,
some fancy
England honey. So, but yeah, rich people. But then I just make them take their shoes off. You know? And so, but most people will take their shoes off. My favorite thing is, I think I mentioned this before, but I was doing a show called Hot Tub with Kristen Shaw, who's my daughter's a huge fan of. And even though it's a 21 and older club, they let me bring her in to hang out in the sound booth and meet Kristen afterwards and stuff like that, which was fun. I got a prosthetic leg, because I said shoe. Well, the shoe and the prosthetic leg are attached to each other.
So someone handed you a prosthetic leg. Did you balance it?
And I made it $25 because it was such a big thing. I said, okay, we're going to make this one $25.
When the first time I saw you perform that, I mean, I was highly entertained. And then I said, exactly what you said. The best part of this routine is just you getting to play with the audience. You've created. Those are some of my favorite moments in shows, when you just create an environment where fun can happen, where you get to play with people. And
no, because my goal is to have every show have a unique signature that might not ever happen again. Yeah. We, as vaudeville people, we have our tricks, we have our whatever. That's the skeleton. And then filling in the skeleton, the meat of the show, is the organic moments that we will never see again.
Right.
So that's the fun part.
Did that routine develop when you were doing warm-up?
That
just seems so conducive to...
I'm fiddling with my headphones a little bit. They get a little bit tight.
They do. Get a little tight.
I know. That routine developed by this. I used to do a show until I got so tired because I have kids. There was a show Ron Lynch
the Midnight Show?
Tomorrow Show. And I would do other bits there, and then I just said to the audience, and this is just a lark, I just said, I'm a shoe psychic, and I happen to have my kids' Girl Scout cookies with me at that time, and I said, if I cannot predict your occupation by touching your shoe,
that's great.
You get a box of cookies. And so basically I ended up giving out a ton of cookies and just made up things with their shoes.
And you just had people hand up shoes.
Yeah, and I didn't even balance them, and then I'm like, I wonder if I could balance these, and then I started doing that. I lost a lot at the beginning because every shoe has a weird different weight. But then it got to the point where I would lose like 35% of the time. Now it's down to like 0.5% of the time, if that.
I've never seen you miss. Yeah. I've seen you do it a lot.
But it was all a genesis of just getting shoes and saying things about people's shoes. And then, I can balance these, and now I can do other things. Now I can have a whole bit. And then I can orchestrate the shoes like boots are always at the end because I know those look awkward because they're so big. If a woman has a crazy high heel, I'll always get it and I'll say, hey, Spearmint Rhino, glad you could make it here tonight. Then lately, like a slightly nice dress shoe, I've been saying, a mid-level drug dealer. And wherever I am, I'll like say I was in Buena Park, I'll say Buena Park, Breaking Bad. I'll say Breaking Buena Park. I'll add the city wherever I am to Breaking Bad. Then, if I get a tennis shoe, I'll add that as, it looks like Combos. And that's a deep cut from Breaking Bad because Combo got killed in Breaking Bad. Yeah. Strangely enough, I just, the mom, the person, not the mom, but the wife of the cop character on Breaking Bad, the brother-in-law.
Oh, the brother,
The wife on that, I think her name is Betsy something, the actress name. I just did a show, her kids and their nanny were in the audience.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, and I know the nanny, and she said, that's the woman from Breaking Bad. And and it's funny because I love Breaking Bad. When I saw that, I was like, I love this show.
It's so good.
I didn't come to it until after Better Call Saul.
Oh, really?
Then I watched it in reverse. Oh. So I knew all during Breaking Bad that, not during Breaking Bad, but I knew, because I knew in Breaking Bad that it was after Better Call Saul, but I knew Jonathan Banks was in Breaking Bad, but I hadn't seen it yet. But I knew he died in Breaking Bad. So I knew all during Better Call Saul, he can never die because it's a prequel. He's an immortal.
Oh, that's good. You're like, this is fantastic.
It's so weird when you know characters are an immortal because they're in the other episodes in Breaking Bad because it's a prequel.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
My wife would still worry the whole time. I'm like, honey, he's a star of the movie. He's not going to die.
But that's the great thing about Game of Thrones. At the very first, season, you have one of the stars die.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, guys.
I know, but I said one of the stars.
One of the stars, yes.
So there you go. Sansa's going to die in the first season.
Oh, my gosh. I just started watching Stranger Things.
Oh, gosh, we binged it. We did it in 24 hours, I think. Or maybe
I have
a
one
bit more.
episode left, and I started like 3 days ago. But I started watching it and couldn't get into it, and then I watched the second episode and I'm like, holy crap, like within 10 minutes this thing just got crazy.
Yeah. No, I like anything with a Twin Peaks-ish / X-Files twist.
Oh, totally.
To it,
I want to talk about this because you are one of the, and I know you've got a show tonight, so we're going to make sure you get out of here in a few minutes, but you're one of the few performers that can perform for a family audience, a corporate audience, a comedy club, a TV show warm-up.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, Michael's actually starting his motorcycle right now to head to the show. What's your favorite venue to work in? What do you really love?
I mean, it's a weird, it's a Faustian choice, where it's I don't even know if that's the right word. I'm probably not.
Let's go with it. I'll look it up when
I
you
don't
leave.
even know. I don't think it is. Maybe it's more of a Sophie's choice, but then somebody has to die, so that's even weirder.
I have a list of terms to Google when Michael goes to his show.
It's like this. I love the hipster shows with like Kristen Shaw where it's all like 20, 30-somethings in the crowd.
Yeah.
And they don't give a crap that you're 54 years old. You know what I mean? And I don't care anymore that I'm 54. And it's like, it's always such
don't look 54
a young
either.
person's thing. It's like, all the young hipsters. And yet I have so many hipster young fans and it's always fun.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the day, I love doing those shows, but they don't pay money. I think they slip me $20.
Yeah.
Then I'll go do a library, and then the librarians. It's like, this is not I don't say, hey boys and girls. We just go at them crazy and have a crazy time, and whatever happens, and that's what they love because it's so improvisational. That's fun too.
Yeah.
I think my least favorite. I think getting to the least favorite.
Yep.
Is. A certain wealthiness, and sometimes it's fine, but on occasion I'll go up into the hills in Beverly Hills and do like the Saudi houses, the Saudi prince houses, and you're this weird eye candy. They don't really interact. It's very weird. There's sometimes I'll even get this one. Sometimes I did a show in Pasadena, all white, very wealthy. I wasn't getting paid because I'd auctioned my show off for a tutoring service for migrant kids for a young homework house where their parents speak Spanish, so they need English speakers to help with homework.
Yeah.
So I got $700 that went to this charity. That person paid that. I come to their house. Next thing you know, all the private school kids are throwing cherry tomatoes at me. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And I'm mortified because it's like I think about the economic disparity where these other kids that I gave that $700 to go to get some tutoring, and these kids have it all,
and don't appreciate anything.
They're being belligerent, and it's one thing to get thrown a tomato at where it splats on you and it's fine, but when they sting like the cherry tomatoes do and they don't break, that's even worse. That's
they
more
weren't even ripe.
That's more humiliating. The guy that hired me had seen me before, and he was mortified. And he called me later that day to try to do a mea culpa. And I said, listen, you can say everything you want to say. And I know it's not your fault, but I've done Compton, inner city, beautiful, amazing shows. You're by far the worst show ever.
Wow.
With so much privilege, it is sad that this happens this way.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to let him off the hook. I mean, he was cool.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was doing this because his kid was fine.
Right.
But he needs to understand all these other parents that are part of this group and these children, the school, maybe this school isn't the best for your kids' upbringing if this is the type of environment they're in.
Right.
You know? So that, I think I like to go with what's the least favorite. Very, very wealthy. Wealthy, middle class wealthy. Like I go to Texas to do a show for the Pitchfords, who are very wealthy.
Yeah.
But they're new money. They worked their ass off.
Right.
When they were in their 20s, they were broke, one car, apartment. Now they have a beautiful home in Texas, made a theater. A lot of us go out there from the magic world.
And they appreciate it because they worked for it.
And also, he's a magician himself, Randy.
Yeah.
That's new money as opposed to old money.
Right.
That's so different.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to indict every single wealthy person.
Right.
But it's my experience.
Yeah.
And it's also my experience. I've never had a bad show with a black audience. If I go in to a predominantly black audience, it's always fun and they're always ready to have fun. I can't say that with all white audiences. And I don't know what it means. I mean, it sounds racial, and I don't know if it's negative about white or negative about black, because I'm stereotyping blacks of being a great audience. Is that weird? Is that wrong? But it's what I've experienced over 33 years.
Yeah, sometimes people take themselves way too seriously, and they just can't have fun.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's my big thing. Like my bread and butter is after dinner corporate shows, which sometimes are great and sometimes are terrible.
If it has a golf component, I always feel it's worse.
Like a golf tournament where they've played all day and they're just waiting to find out if they're getting a raffle prize.
That was my second worst show, and it was one of my first shows in LA. This was like within the first 3 months.
Yep.
And I was mortified. I was like, if this is what it's like, this is not going to be my thing. And I was like devastated.
Yeah.
And after that, it was all dudes in their 50s or 60s.
Right.
And they were just, I don't know why they were so angry, to be honest.
Yeah. I've done quite a few like golf tournaments where what they do is they sell the guys who want to play during the day, and then they do a dinner, but then they charge people just to come to the dinner who didn't golf, so they have to have entertainment so they feel like they got their money's worth. And then the people who golfed all day are miserable because they're like, I just want to go home.
Right.
But they got, but that's what I can't tell you how many times I've been at a good paying corporate show, and all I can think about is going to do a free show in the back of a comic book store in LA.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's like,
no, absolutely.
I'm going to get through this. It'll pay the bills, and then I will go do a show that is for 30 people who care.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of times when you spring entertainment on people too, and they don't. There's a thing.
Yeah,
what are we supposed to do?
Hey, everybody! Yeah, that's the best. The intro is just now. There's a guy.
Yeah. I'll speak about intros in a second, but I just want to tell everybody I should have not worn my glasses the entire interview. I realized that's when my head was hurting because the pressure of the
headphones on your temples
on my side of my glasses, like. And then I just discovered something near the end. That's how it always is. Guys. You discover something near the end.
You know what? Let's start over. We'll do the whole thing over again.
But intros, it's terrible. And I've had this intro before. You should always give them an intro. Because left to their own devices, I've had this a few times. I guess this guy's funny. I guess he's going to do something for you. I guess we paid him enough money. Please welcome Michael Rayner. Really, you've just set up everything negatively.
I had a guy last year. I'm doing this event, and it was a night where they were doing like a night of comedy. It was at a church, and they were doing like a sell tickets, and it's a night of comedy fundraiser thingy, right? So, but the guy, I give him an intro, and I say, just read this. And it's okay that you're reading it. It's written well, so it's not going to sound like a script. But this is all I need, this little thing. He printed off some other website, like a bio that I didn't even write about myself. That was from another event. And literally went through like every line and commented on it. He's performed at the Magic Castle. Never heard of that. And then he paused. And then he went to Azusa Pacific. Where's that at?
That's the same joke twice.
Yeah, it was the worst. He did like a good 5 minutes off my bio. Yeah, no.
Oh, that's a terrible one. My favorite intro that I've been using lately, and it's just super quick, and you have to say it in a certain way because here's the correct way.
Yeah.
He's performed on David Letterman. He's performed on Sesame Street, and he's performed in front of a TJ Maxx. That's the correct way, and it always gets a laugh if there's a beat, and then they do that thing, and then they wait, and they'll get a laugh. And I'm giving you, the host, a laugh.
Yeah.
But then sometimes people do it like this. They'll say, "You've seen him." Yeah. On David Letterman.
Well, not necessarily.
It doesn't say performed. You've seen him on Sesame Street, and then they go, and he hangs around at TJ Maxx.
Like, what?
That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
And so it gets all murky when they don't do it correctly, which is always sad. So lately I just say something nice and quick.
Yeah,
you know?
quicker the better.
Yeah.
This is not, and we'll end with this because I know we got to get going. But this is not it's not a how-to podcast. This is more of, I say it's a survival guide. It's just solidarity for the times when things don't go great. What's the biggest thing, or one big thing that you've learned about kind of encouraging yourself when maybe the gigs aren't coming as quickly, or maybe you had a show that didn't go like you planned? What do you do to...
When the gigs aren't going, I'm going to give you a one word how it goes well and how you can keep going. It's a MasterCard. It's a MasterCard. You can pay your bills with MasterCard. It's so easy. It's like a masterclass, but replace it with card and ride out the bad times. I want people to understand every company, Uber... Yeah. Right now is not making money. They're using their special MasterCard. Yeah. Every day they burn more money than they make in. Amazon, I think now they're in the black, but for many years they were burning money.
Right.
Now, don't be foolhardy. Right. This is what I'm going to tell you. I've been in and out of debt 5 times maybe, and I'll tell you why. The first time you're just in your 20s and you get a credit card and you don't know what's going on, and the next thing you know, you've got $15,000 in debt.
Right.
And then you pay it off and you know what's going on. Second time, you get to a new city, LA, you're setting up shop, you're making a choice. It's like going to college. You are going in debt going to college.
Right.
You know no one, you're setting up shop, allow yourself that debt to begin with.
Right.
Start getting gigs, pay off that debt, getting married, having kids, buying a house.
Yep.
You're probably going to go in debt again,
right?
Because these are big life changes. And then you've been in LA a long time. Now you're gonna be able to pay that debt off because you keep on having more and more clients.
Yep.
Lastly, know that some things are out of your control. My good friend Nazareth. Do you know?
I do know Nazareth. Yeah.
When the 2006, 2007 housing crisis happened and there were just no work anywhere. It's like you're still a doctor or a lawyer trying to scrape up, clients. You're still a performer trying to scrape up clients when no one has any money.
Yep.
And it's dire times. You're going to go into debt.
Yep.
Just know we will come out of it, and then you pay the debt off. We're now way in the black again, saving for kids' college, you know. Don't panic, but always be working 100% during the times when things aren't happening. Always be practicing. Doing free shows, never thinking a show's beneath you. I do a ton of library shows to this day because I can stay with my family. I've had guys that say they go off on cruises, but they say it's a terrible bargain. You miss your family half the year.
Right.
And really, if you think about it, sometimes you go on a 10-day cruise, you come back with $4,000.
Right.
That's only $400 a day. Think of it per day.
Yeah, it's true.
If you're making per day, $300 to $500, waiting for good shows, we'll get the big, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 shows.
Right.
You still have to make shows in between that.
Yeah.
Some people say they'll only go out for $1,500, but then they only do 20 shows a year.
Exactly.
That's not enough.
Right.
So you got to fill it in with these other things.
Yep.
If you're famous, fine, that's you. But there's a lot of grinders out there.
Yeah.
And I just am a grinder, but I've constructed it also where the wife's got a career, I've got a career. We've never had a full-time nanny. On occasion, I've had the grandmother come, to pick the kids up from school, or a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I think the most times somebody else has driven my kids have been probably 10 times since they've been children, and that doesn't include the grannies. I'm talking about just friends.
Right.
The kids, we're always there for the kids, and hopefully that'll pay off in the end. I think it will.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it will.
I think it's a good investment, man. I mean, we're just a little bit behind you guys with it. Our kids are 9 and 12, but we've said no to a lot of opportunities because it would take me away for too long. Listen,
I'll fly out, do a show, come back if it's 2 or 3 days, but the 10 days, 10 days, 10 days is just too much.
Yeah.
And it's also, luckily, the wife's, we both had careers that have been on and off, and one or the other of us have been on and off, most of it. The last 3 years, we've both been on.
That's great.
So that's how we've been able to eradicate all that 2007 debt.
Yep.
Have a bunch of money in the bank.
Yep.
Our house payment, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in North Hollywood, prime location, $1,900 because we bought so early.
That's amazing.
And it's awesome.
That's incredible.
But this is after having clients here in LA for 23 years now.
Yeah.
Very first day in LA, you start looking at, like, back in the day it was called Dramalog.
Yep.
Is there a talent competition? Is there an open mic?
Right.
Is there somewhere where I can win money? I would go down to Laguna Niguel and do a talent show and win $50.
Yeah.
Well,
this is so good that you're talking about, like, getting out there and grinding, because you still, I mean, even with the clientele and with the shows that you do a lot of these shows that don't pay, but get you out there and people thinking about you.
Well, it's mostly about the relationships because it's like my friend Scott Neri, I've known him for a long time, and then all of a sudden he gets a gig, he throws it to me, hopefully I get a gig, throw it to him.
Yep.
It's like Chris Ruggiero, he couldn't do a gig, he threw it to me. I've tried to throw him some gigs, It's all these relationships where we're trying to help out one another.
That's
and
great.
Also the more people you know and they know your work and they respect your work.
Yeah.
Every time you meet somebody, I mean, as I had talked about, I'd done warm up. Don't be a jerk to other people as best you can. There'll be times we are jerks. Let me just say, we're all going to be jerks on occasion.
Yeah.
But best you can, try to be considerate, kind, empathetic, and never bemoan. The oldest joke is never like, what's the oldest joke is like somebody talks about all the amazing stuff they do. This is the old joke, everyone's heard it, but I'm gonna tell it again.
Do it.
They're talking about, I just did a show at the White House, I just did a show on CBS, I just have my 2 comedy specials released, and then you say, well, I did a birthday party in Pomona, and they go, who books that? There's always a guy that's so boasty, and he still wants to know, don't be so boasty, but if you're doing cool things, I love to hear it, and I'm thrilled for you.
So good.
But I'm doing everything. I might get a $1,500 show or a $100 show or whatever. And then a lot of times when I'm doing lower money shows, I work out a deal like if a $1,500 show comes in, they know we're going to find a replacement.
Right, that's good.
Like I said, listen, I'll come do your thing for a couple $100, this little mall thing for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
But it's always known
There's
if something
that contingency.
that's that contingency,
with another,
and they're cool with that.
That's great.
So
good.
Grind, read every opportunity. Cold call. I was making demos today,
dude. Michael recently did a workshop about TV warm up, and one of the things you talked about was, and I don't want to give away the juice, but one of the things you talked about was like cold calling, just go grinding. My wife today is like, well, how come you haven't made phone calls for that? I'm like, all right, I need to do that, honey.
Cold calling is super humiliating.
It is, but
it got me my first gig.
Yeah.
Because the producer of the show happened to answer. Mostly a PA will answer. And that's what's great. When you're cold calling, you're not calling somebody's house asking about, redoing their tiles.
Right.
I'm calling and saying, this is what I do.
Yep.
You probably have that guy. Let me email over my resume.
Yeah.
So if that guy gets sick, you got my resume in the pile.
Yeah.
On occasion, somebody will go, oh, I know this show that you were on, or I know this person, or I saw you perform once, because there's a chance that might happen.
Yeah.
And so It can only it's not a negative. Now with being an actor or an actress, you have an agent for that. That's a little bit of a different thing,
Yeah.
So, but I even called for library stuff because I haven't done anything in Santa Barbara, and I know they have a whole big library system up there.
Right, yeah.
And I just sent them my stuff, and they said, "Oh, this is great. We'll hopefully look at it for next year."
That's awesome.
And so it's like, and I'm going to send my new demo stuff to I'm going to kind of target Southwest cities.
Okay.
If I could fly to Southwest to Oakland or Southwest to Arizona.
Totally.
And if I can get $1,000, but I know my flight is only going to be $200 and the car is going to be $50.
Yeah.
I can fly in, do a show that day, fly back, and make $750.
Yeah, that's good.
You strategize how you can monetize the cheap flights out of Burbank.
Right. And, here's another thing. You talked about credit cards, but get one with miles.
Oh.
Because I can't tell you how many times someone wants me to fly out and doesn't have a huge budget.
Yeah.
But if I can use miles, it makes it worth it.
Or you can get, and this isn't illegal, and this isn't weird, but you can get them to pay for the flight, how much it would be, and then use your miles, so you've just made extra money.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
And so, because they're going to pay for your flight anyways,
right.
Get some extra money on it.
Yeah, that's a good move. Man, this has been so awesome. I know you're running to a show. How can people get a hold of you, Michael, if they want to see what you're doing and they want to follow along online?
Many ways. Broken Juggler on Instagram and Twitter. It's very easy.
Where did the broken part come in?
It's both emotionally and physical. I'm not broken emotionally anymore. I think there was a time that I was always like, everyone's doing better than me. And then you reach a certain age and say, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
We're all right.
That's so good.
It's fine.
So brokenjuggler.com.
That's Broken Juggler on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay,
and
Twitter
then just
and Instagram.
michaelrayner.com.
michaelrayner.com.
Is my website lately, trying to upgrade it somewhat. And then there's just my regular number on michaelrayner.com on my contact part. I have a commercial agent. I have like a big corporate show agent, but then I'll come do your house party if you need me to.
That's rad. I will put links to your website and to your social media stuff on the podcast. So if you're listening along right now, just click on those links, follow along with Michael. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Thank you.
I'll turn this off and we can keep talking, but bye-bye.